Welcome back. You're watching The Gavel. The focus this week is on the budget defense sessions in the National Assembly. The Speaker of the House of Representatives visited some committees during their budget defense sessions. He emphasized the reasons behind the visits and afterwards, when accosted by journalists on why some sessions were being held behind closed doors, he promised to look into it and find out from the committee chairman why that was so. So here's how the budget defense sessions went in the House of Representatives.
Member representing Ihiala.
On the 22nd of October, the Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, was before the House of Representatives Committee on Aviation to defend his ministry's 41.9 billion naira proposed budget. But the lawmakers seemed disinterested in the details of his budget and would rather extend the bow and go privilege which he was accorded during the ministerial screening exercise as a former federal lawmaker.
Mr. Chairman, it is my application that while we study the document and relate with other parastatals and agency leadership, that we accord the minister the usual convention that he takes his leave.
The minister is a ranking member here and also is a ranking member in the Senate. So we're going to treat you as a ranking member.
But despite the position of majority of the committee members, two lawmakers had pertinent questions.
I would like you to bring us up to speed also where there are challenges. There are ones that might be local constraints, and then there are some that might have to do with maybe your office or the executive.
Sir, with this budget, we want you to assure us. I don't want to start questioning what did you do, what happened to this and what happened to that. Are you assuring us in 2020 that the hygiene of our airports can match, if not the best in the world, but at least the average countries out there, where you can go to the restroom peacefully and not be afraid of getting a kind of disease?
By the time we get done before Easter with Enugu Airport, I can guarantee you it will be the best, the safest in terms of operations of airports in this country. And I want to confidently say that the toilets and the hygiene, or the hygiene in general in our airports is well above standards with emphasis. If we are to be scored, I'm sure I will be scored 90%, and I will explain further what I meant by that. And to say the efforts we're making also to make our airports of international standard and beyond. The airport in Katsina, for example, is 100%. The airport in Bauchi, the airport in Sokoto, the airport in Ibadan, the airport in Port Harcourt at the moment, the airport in Ilorin, the airport in Abuja, New Abuja, the airport. I think you are making reference to the airport in Lagos.
Those in support that the minister take a bow, say aye. Those against, say no. The ayes have it.
He was eventually asked to bow and go without further questioning.
I think the ministry...
The Minister of Youth and Sports Development also defended his budget before the House Committee on Youth Development, where he spoke on rejection of core members by MDAs.
I've put forward a number of proposals. One has to do with a zero rejection policy of youth corpus. 3 weeks ago, we wrote to the SGF to recall and remind all MDAs about the directive of the federal government that no youth corper should be rejected.
We are new on board.
The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, who appeared before a joint committee of the National Assembly, outlined plans for the new ministry.
The vision for the ministry is to create sustainable and inclusive social systems that promote human dignity in Nigeria. And we have our mission as to coordinate, promote, and strengthen social systems that provide support for humanitarian needs in Nigeria by integrating best practices, mechanisms, and solutions through effective utilization of funds, data, research, and planning.
Various other committees like that on privatization also held budget defense sessions with the Bureau of Public Enterprise and called on the Bureau to ensure a review of performance agreements between the federal government and industries. More ministers and heads of different departments of agencies continued to show up before the various National Assembly committees to defend their budgets. On the 23rd of October, the Director General of the Debt Management Office in her budget defense responded to questions on the debt service performance of the 2019 budget.
We did say in 2019 there was a provision for 1.6 trillion naira of new borrowing. The reality is that it's only the domestic borrowing that will be done because the budget year has to end in December. Okay, so that external borrowing of 802 in the 2019 budget, we are not raising it this year. It will be raised next year.
She spoke further on the domestic borrowing so far.
New domestic borrowing for 2019 is 803 billion naira. As at October 2019, we have raised 660 billion. Okay, that leaves a difference of 142 billion naira, which we will raise between now and November.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues.
To defend the budget of the Minister of Information before a joint committee of the National Assembly was the Minister, Lai Mohammed, who spoke on the proposed allocation to public enlightenment and campaigns against fake news, hate speech, among others.
The enlightenment campaign on government policies and programs, testimonial series, national campaigns and advocacy against fake news, insecurity, farmers' herdsmen clash, banditry, kidnapping, etc., which is ongoing. And I think 155 million envelope was given for that, sir.
The Joint National Assembly Committee on Works also received the MDAs under the Ministry of Works, among whom was the Surveyor General, who, like most of the MDAs, lamented late release from the 2019 budget, which according to him was received on the 24th of September.
About 5 more agencies.
And during the budget defense of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, the lawmakers questioned the capacity of the agency to effectively carry out its duties.
How can a large country like Nigeria only have just 8 sniffer dogs, for example? How can a large country like Nigeria, the agency that is saddled with that very crucial responsibility of fighting drug trafficking and drug abuse or what have you, how do you expect that agency to just have 2 personnel to a local government?
With
Field Marshal.
Thursday's budget defense in the House of Representatives began with the security sector. The Chief of Defense Staff during the budget defense of the Defense Headquarters called for separate funding for the armed forces to tackle growing security concerns in the country.
I have often emphasized the constraint in funding the armed forces from budgetary allocation alone, and I've made several cases for alternative funding options for the armed forces of Nigeria to be explored.
Principal officers of the National Assembly are exempted from budget defense sessions. But midway into the budget defense session of the Committee on Defense, the Speaker of the House of Representatives made a brief appearance and spoke on the need to encourage local manufacturers of military hardware.
The issue of local content must spread even to the security matters. And we have men and women who are capable. So there's so many of them. We just need to encourage them and to fund them.
Meanwhile, the Chief of Army Staff also appeared before the Committee on Army, where he lamented that only 40% of the capital budget had been released.
I want to passionately appeal to this committee to take a second look at this by impressing on the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning to release the remaining funds as appropriated in the year 2019 Capital Appropriation Act.
The Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, defended his budget before the House Committee on Justice, where he spoke on a number of issues.
May I respectfully and humbly request you to reflect afresh and jack up the funding of our legal services to between the neighborhood of 10 to 15 billion annually.
And for a second time, the Minister of Youth and Sports appeared for his budget defense before members of the House of Representatives, this time for the sports sector.
I was very interested in what I read in the papers where you actually did say Tokyo 2020 is not going to be a training exercise. And we actually appreciate that, because if you said that, that means you actually are passionate about the sport and you want us to actually go to Tokyo and win medals.
We're lucky that we're starting earlier than previous Olympics. But also what we've done is try to work out some projects and initiatives to bring private money and private funding into our preparations for the Olympic.
The Committee on Emergency and Disaster Preparedness also received the National Emergency Management Agency, and the lawmakers voiced their displeasure over the figures presented in the 2019 budget performance of the agency and its reaction to emergencies in the country.
Sustainable development.
When the Senior Special Assistant to President Muhammadu Buhari on Sustainable Development Goals appeared for her budget defense, there were lots of questions to be answered.
Like I said to you, that our office is a program office and we do intervention programs. This year, from late last year to this year, we rolled out 10 number of 149 bed hospitals. And we have 5 number of 60 bed hospital. We have many hospitals, we have many schools, we have many ski centers, we have many type A primary health care center. It is from this budget.
The leadership of the National Assembly did say that only the month of October was available for budget defense, and anyone who failed to defend their budget would not have to blame the National Assembly, as it would ensure that this budget is passed before the end of the year to allow for a return to a January to December budget cycle. Well, so far, there's been no report of failure of any minister to defend their budgets. Probably with the input of President Muhammadu Buhari, who ordered that no minister should travel out of the country without defending their budgets. Now, one thing has been very obvious, though, throughout the budget defense session so far. MDAs have repeatedly lamented late release of funds from the 2019 budget, especially their capital budgets. Well, the National Assembly resumes plenary in a few days. Thanks for being a part of the Gavel. I am Terry Ikumi. Goodbye.